Hello everyone, I hope you are all still keeping well. I hope lockdown is going okay for you. This is my second lockdown video that I thought I would bring. I'm going to tell a story again from the Old Testament and then just bring some thoughts and a little bit of a challenge for us in our walk with God. So as I said, this story comes from the Old Testament again, and it comes from the book of Daniel, and it's about a king. It's about a king called Nebuchadnezzar, which I think is a really cool name, King Nebuchadnezzar. And then it is about three guys who are known as Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego. Maybe you've heard of them before. Now all of these people, Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, they lived in a place called Babylon, which is, as we would know it, modern day Iraq. And these three men, they worked for the king and they had really important jobs. And one day the king decided that he would build a huge image made out of gold that stood 90 feet high. Now I was trying to work out, how high is 90 feet high? Like what does that look like? And so I worked out that that would be 2 telephone poles stood on top of each other. Or if you took 3 double-decker buses like this and you turned them and stacked them on top of each other, that would be 90 feet high. Or 5 giraffes. 5 giraffes stacked on top of each other, that would be like 90 feet high. That's how high this gold statue was. It's really tall, isn't it? And King Nebuchadnezzar, he then made an announcement. He said, "People of all languages, when you hear the music, you must bow down and worship the statue, because I, the king, have said so. And whoever does not obey and worship the statue will immediately be thrown into a fiery furnace." Now the problem with this is that God doesn't want us to worship anything or anyone but him. After all, he is God and he made us and he loves us so much, and he doesn't want us to worship anyone but him. So the next time that the music played, everyone stopped what they were doing and they bowed down and worshipped this idol. That is except everyone. That is except our friends Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego. And so some of the king's workers, they saw that they weren't bowing down and worshipping this idol. So they ran to the king to tell him. And so when Nebuchadnezzar heard the news, he was so angry, and he ordered Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego to be brought to him to explain their actions. So the men were brought before King Nebuchadnezzar, and he said to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, that you will not bow down and worship the image of gold that I have made?" He said, "Just in case there was a mistake, I'm going to give you another chance." So he said, "When the music plays again, you will be ready and bow down to the image. And if you don't do it this time, I will throw you into the fiery furnace. Then what God will be able to save you?" And Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, they looked at each other and replied to the king, "Oh, Nebuchadnezzar, we did not make a mistake, nor will we apologize or say sorry for not bowing down. If we are thrown into the furnace, the God we worship will save us, and he will rescue us. But even if he doesn't save us, even if he doesn't rescue us, we want you to know, King Nebuchadnezzar, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up." Now that made King Nebuchadnezzar even more mad, even more angry, and right away he ordered that the furnace would be heated way hotter than usual, and then he commanded his strongest soldiers to take Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego and throw them into the fire. The soldiers took the 3 men straight to the furnace. The men were still wearing all of their clothes, and these clothes could catch fire so easily. So as the soldiers were pushing the men into the furnace, the flames from it killed the soldiers. It was so hot. The flames were so big that the men died. And they just threw Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego into the really hot, fiery furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar, he jumped to his feet in amazement and asked his advisors, weren't there only 3 men we threw into the fire? And they replied, oh yes, King. He said, look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, untied and unhurt. And the 4th looks like some kind of angel. So Nebuchadnezzar then came as close as he could to the furnace without getting burnt, and he shouted in the doorway, Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, follower of the Most High God, come out, come here. So the 3 men walked out of the furnace without any burns. No hairs on their head had been burnt. All of their clothes were perfectly fine, and they didn't even smell of fire. And at that moment, Nebuchadnezzar knew that they had worshipped a real God, not some fake statue. God had sent an angel to protect them from harm. And even more importantly, he realized that they truly believed and trusted in God. They were willing to die than serve or worship any God except their own true, real God. And so from that day on, the king made an announcement that all people of all languages, could not say anything bad about Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego's God, or they too would be badly punished. The king, he then did something else. He then took those 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, and gave them even better jobs than what they had had before. Even better jobs. And God all of a sudden started blessing them. He had blessed them with better jobs and was honoring Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego for their faithfulness. Now, I think this is such an incredible story, and I think there are a couple of things that we can learn from it. In fact, I have 2 things that I think we can learn from it. But before I talk about what they are, I need to get our lunch out of the oven. So just hang on one moment. Does this happen to anyone else? Steamed glasses? Or do you know someone that it does happen to? I'm sure it does. My oven gets so hot that it steams my glasses, and when I open the door I can feel the heat on my face. Now, I don't know how hot the furnace in our story got, but today furnaces can get really up to about 600 degrees. Now, my oven only goes to 260, so I guess a furnace gets really, really hot. And the furnace in our story that had Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego in, it was so hot that the men who put them into the furnace died because it was so hot. Now, it's safe to say that their furnace was hotter than my oven, and they had a slightly bigger problem than my steamed glasses. Now, this story it's an incredible miracle and display of what God can do when we trust him, even when we get scared about the outcome. It's an incredible display of what God can do when we choose to put God first above all things. And God will always be with us, just like he was for Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego. We need to trust God, and in trusting God with the things in our lives and sticking with him is always our best option. Then I love what happens next in the story towards the end, is that these three guys, they had really good jobs for the king, but they trusted God and God protected them, and then God honored them and blessed them with even better jobs because they stuck with God. It's pretty cool, isn't it? And then my second point that I want to bring out is about our friends and the company that we keep. Another thing that I really love about the story of Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego is that they all stuck together. They were in it together. They had decided that for all three of them, God was more important than a statue, more important than the king, and they said that no matter what, they would stick together through the consequences. This challenged me. It challenged me to think about having Christian friends who are willing to go to the fiery furnace with me. People that I have such a good relationship with that when things get tough or difficult, they're going to stand with me and support me no matter what. And then I guess the follow-on challenge from that is about me being that friend to others. So my challenge for us today is what might you and I need to change to make God number one in all areas of our life? But also, are you investing in Christian relationships with people who will support you and pray for you no matter what? They're really tough challenges, aren't they? But there we go. I think they are just two things that we can learn from the story of Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego. Now, I hope you have a great week, and hopefully I'll see you next week. God bless.